What's up, folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. So with the new launch of the Canon 5D Mark IV, there's definitely going to be an intriguing market for full-frame mirrorless or DSLR cameras that have video capabilities for specifically 4K video. Now, what we're going to do is take a look at the new Canon 5D Mark IV and directly compare it against the Sony A7s Mark II. We're going to specifically focus on the video capabilities of both camera platforms. They're great stills photography platforms as well, but specifically we're going to concentrate on the video capabilities, especially when it comes to overall sharpness, the actual video quality of the 4K, and low light performance. So let's get right into it and see which one's best. Now here, side by side, you can see the design of the Sony A7s Mark II is certainly going to be a lot more compact from every dimensional aspect. It's definitely attributing to the fact that it is a mirrorless camera. You still have the traditional pentaprism on the Canon 5D, which does have some positives in terms of actually looking through the lens in real life versus the Sony. You're dealing with a electronic viewfinder, but the trade-off is always going to be size when it comes to that. Additionally, the A7s is also quite a lot lighter than the Canon, measuring only 627 grams versus the Canon body is about just under 900 grams. Both are magnesium alloy construction and they are weather sealed as well. Now internally, both cameras have a full frame CMOS chip. Now there's a little bit of a dimensional difference, but they're essentially both standardized as full frame chips. You have the Canon 5D Mark IV with a 36 by 24 millimeter sensor versus the Sony has a 35.6 by 23.8 millimeter sensor. Now, in terms of actual megapixel count, you have 30 megapixels on the Canon versus 12 on the A7s Mark II. Now, obviously, when it comes to still photography, the Canon is certainly going to be a lot more versatile, but in terms of actual pixel size and potential low light capabilities, you do have more photons hitting each of those pixels on the Sony side, and we'll take a look at the side-by-side low light differences between these two in terms of ISO. Now, in terms of actual ISO range, both can go down to 50 ISO. The Canon can go all the way up to 100,000, and the Sony can go all the way up to 409,000 ISO, which is pretty darn impressive. Additionally, the Sony A7s Mark II also has built-in 5-axis stabilization in the body, versus you're going to have to buy separate lenses if you want some kind of image stabilization on the Canon side. Now, in terms of media storage, the Canon 5D Mark IV actually has dual slots for compact flash as well as full-size SD cards, so that's going to be great. It supports all of the latest and greatest, fastest, high-capacity media storage configurations you can get out there, which is great for 4K video recording. And on the other hand, the A7S II will accept full-size SD cards as well as Sony's own proprietary memory sticks. Beyond that notion, in terms of the actual ports and connectivity, both support HDMI outputs for actual external recording and monitoring, and you get a clean, fairly uncompressed signal up to 422 color sampling. They also support a full-size headphone and microphone connection, so again, better audio configuration than the crappy built-in microphones, and you can monitor it with those headphone jacks. On top of that, you also have USB 3 integration on the Canon 5D, and both have built-in NFC and Wi-Fi capabilities, and on top of that, the Canon does support a GPS versus the Sony A7S II does not. Now, even though this video we're going to specifically concentrate on the video capabilities of both these two units, there's still fantastic stills cameras. Here we're going to lay out some of the stills photography parameters. So in terms of maximum shutter burst rate, you're looking at 7 frames per second on the 5D versus about 5 on the Sony. And in terms of the autofocusing system, we do have an phase detection autofocusing on the Canon has 61 points. 41 of those points are cross type, so very fast and accurate, versus the Sony has a contrast detection autofocusing system, which is a little bit slower and not as accurate as times as the Canon. But nevertheless, there are quite a lot of autofocusing points on the Sony. It has about 169 points. Now, in terms of the video capabilities, both can shoot shoot 4K resolution at 30 FPS. There's a little bit of difference in terms of the actual resolution. You're looking at about 4096 by 2160 on the Canon versus the Sony records the more ultra high definition standard, which is 3840 by 2160. In terms of actual maximum bit rate ratings, you're looking at about 100 megabits per second on the A7 II versus the Canon can go up to 500 megabits per second with an 8-bit color depth, but it is sampling the color at 422. Now, the only downside on the Canon side is that it does crop in your image about 1.7 times, so it becomes effectively an APS-C sensor when you're shooting actual 4K video. But in 1080p, you can utilize the full frame aspect of the sensor versus on the Sony, you're pretty much shooting full frame all the time, no matter 1080p or at 4K resolution, which is a definite nice plus. In terms of 1080p resolution settings, you can shoot up to 120 frames per second on the Sony versus the Canon can go up to 59.94 or 60 frames per second in 1080p mode. And if you want to shoot 120 frames per second, you're going to have to go down to 720p mode on the 5D. Now, finally, with all this stuff out of the way, let's actually take a look at the side-by-side video quality comparisons between these two. That way you can determine which one actually looks best to your eyes. Hopefully the compression won't be too bad. It'll give you some sort of direction on what both of these two cameras can do. And we'll also take a look at a follow-up low light comparison as well towards the end of the test. So let's get right into it. But really on that, guys, that's really it. Generally speaking, I think the Sony A7s Mark II still has a little bit of an edge up when it comes to low light performance. Certainly it has those larger pixels, which is going to give you a little bit more of a versatile camera in extreme lighting conditions. That being said, the Canon is absolutely fantastic, and for general use is better than most of these cameras in this category for low light performance. When it comes to sheer 4K video quality and actual color rendition and everything, I think the Canon is heads and shoulders above what the Sony A7s Mark II can do. Certainly when it comes to in-camera video quality, there's very little compression on it, generally speaking, and there's tons of resolution and clarity, and it's rendering out exceptionally clear images out of that 4K sensor. So that's definitely a nice positive thing about the Canon. The downside is that you can't record 4K in that full frame aspect ratio, which everyone wants to do, and that's something you can do on the Sony, which is something still unique to their cameras. But all in all, I think the 5D Mark IV and the Sony A7s Mark II are going to be fantastic video and stills camera solutions for most videographers and still photographers out there. Certainly a step up from here is going to cost you several thousands of dollars, if not twice or three times the retail price of just the body alone. So definitely great value for money, very versatile solutions that'll probably last you a decent while, because 4K is going to be a standard that's going to be available for a long time. So good overall investments, generally speaking. But if you have any specific questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Check out the links for detailed information about everything we talked about. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you later. Take care.